Welcome to the Curious About Nature podcast. This is a podcast for folks who want to connect with nature and rewild childhood. Hosted by Rachel Mills, Buttercup Learning's founder, an educator with 20 plus years of experience with a passion for animation, the natural world, and conservation. Rachel focuses on getting digital kids outdoors and having fun in nature, promoting well-being and a can-do attitude to local wildlife conservation and sustainable living. Join her and her guests for their stories, experiences, and tips to support outdoor learning and nature connection.
Welcome to the Curious About Nature podcast. Today I'm joined by Chris and Ellie from Little Sprouts Forest School. Hi, Chris and Ellie.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
It's lovely to meet with you. So I'm really curious, what's Little Sprouts?
Yeah, thanks for having us on, Rachel. Little Sprouts Forest School started, probably 2017. I was teaching full-time in a primary school. I saw the power that forest schools could have and the lessons we're having. So I set up Little Sprouts Forest School so that families and children could access more forest school sessions. And then in 2020, was it? Ellie joined me.
March 2020.
A crazy time to join, but I couldn't do it on my own any longer. I needed another person on board, and Ellie was looking for somewhere to do forest school sessions. That's how we became co-founders or co-directors of Little Sprouts Forest Schools. In a nutshell, we offer outdoor education and forest school sessions and a chance for children and families to connect with nature.
So what is forest schools then?
That's a great question. Before I answer that, just to say that we don't strictly just do forest school, do we, Chris? Although we're called Little Sprouts Forest School, we really are about any opportunity for families to get outside and, as Chris said, connect with nature and improve well-being and just build outdoor communities and spaces where people can come together. But forest school is an approach to education which was inspired by the Finnish education system, if you like, or the Finnish way of life as well, of being outdoors a lot. I think there's a word, I don't want to get it wrong, but it means free air life. And so forest school came to the UK in about the 90s when some teachers, early years teachers, visited outdoor settings in Finland and noticed the incredible benefits for children. So it's always in a wild setting, usually a forest, and it's not any one thing. I think that people often think of forest school, they think it's about bushcraft skills or fire, but actually it is very much about the approach that you take. So it's about treating the children holistically and opportunity for holistic learning, very child-led, free play is at the heart of forest school, and esteem building.
I think you're right. Some people see forest school like a subject, but it's more, from myself as a primary school teacher or ex-primary school teacher, it's more a lens through which I teach. It's more of an approach, a pedagogy approach, than a standalone lesson, if that makes sense. So it deals with the child holistically. Ellie said it's child-led, inquiry-led learning, and it takes place outdoors.
It's also very much about that continuity, so experiencing outdoors over seasons and over time and as part of the same group, so that you develop as a community as well as an individual.
Yeah, I think that's the bit that I really like, is that kind of seasonality of it. We're almost slightly disconnected, I think, especially as adults, aren't we, from the seasons. And what I love about forest school is that it is about being in touch and witnessing and observing and being part of what's going on in the world. What do you both love about forest school?
Oh, how long have you got? So I guess it's, again, with my different hats on, as a forest school practitioner, I get lots out of it. I love teaching it and I love leading the sessions. I get a chance to be out in nature. Children enjoy the learning. It's child-led, so it can follow their sort of curiosity. And then from the other side of it, I love what children can get from forest schools. I love seeing them making that progress, seeing them risk assess, seeing them grow and in self-esteem and self-confidence. So it's a two-way street. I enjoy the sessions myself, so it's a bit selfish in a way, but also the children enjoy it. So it's give and take almost, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I agree. For me, it's about the sense of community, connections with other people, as well as connection with nature. And there are some moments, when you were talking then, Chris, about seeing the children progress, there are certain moments that we see time and time again, having done it for a while now. And one of those moments is when a child, and they can be as little as 2, is using the flint and steel to get a spark. And the first time, because you have to persevere, you need some hand strength to do it. And that first time that a child gets a spark, the look on their face gets me every time.
Yeah.
And then the other one is splitting wood with a bill hook, that there's a point when you hit it and the wood gives and goes. And I remember the first time I did that on my forest school training, I'd never done it before, and I had such a primal physical reaction right down in my gut to it. And then I always look at people now when I see them doing it for the first time, because I just love those. There's lots of little moments like that things just click, or it speaks to something quite ancient in us, I think, some of the activities that we do in that environment.
Yeah, I think as teachers by trade, it's those wow moments for the kids. And these aren't my words. I heard someone else describing it. I thought, oh, I like that. I'll pinch that. They were saying that if you can facilitate that wow moment for that child, you could change the trajectory of their life. Which sounds so grandiose, doesn't it? But it's true that I guess it's a bit like that analogy. How's it going now?
Is it about fish?
Sure, why not? No, about
Sorry.
teachers planting trees under whose shade they do not seek. I do sometimes get a sense of that. If I can give that child that wow moment, who perhaps never had a chance to succeed, they haven't had that opportunity of success. If I can give them that moment in forest schools, they can take that away with them. It's theirs. They own it. They could take that away in their life now and use it in different settings. So that's powerful. I think you truly never do see the fruits of your labour, do you, as a forest school practitioner or a teacher, necessarily?
Yeah, the long-term impacts. No, but I think we just trust.
What was the fish?
If there is... I thought you were going to say something about giving a man a fishing rod. You know that saying, you teach a man to fish.
Rachel's going so off track. Sorry, Rach. What was the question?
I hadn't brought it back up because I had to work really hard not to have a fit of the giggles after I said it.
Yeah, I think the question you've covered actually is good. Little Sprouts, what activities do you do with the children then?
Yeah, so our offerings grown and developed through the years. Our sort of bread and butter is our stay and play sessions. So they're aimed really at 2 to 6 year olds. It's inclusive to all, and we can differentiate, but mainly on our stay and play sessions, we find the majority of 2 to 6 year olds, and that's our sort of forest school sessions. And then in recent years, we've also offered holiday clubs, which have been really popular. So just because of the nature of it, it's more like 6 to 12 year olds, and it's drop and go. It's popular with parents, but also for us, we get the children for longer. I suppose just an hour and a half session, you can really go deep with the learning, and you can have them for 3, 4, 5 hours. You can get a lot more out of the sessions.
The activities vary depending on the age. So at a stay and play session, we've found the structure that works for us. So we usually play some kind of game, again, to feel like one group, one community. And the game is usually designed to encourage listening skills or self-esteem or the confidence to speak in front of a group. There's always a little aim to the game, but the majority of the stay and play session then is free play. So we set up different play opportunities, and we've got an enclosed area, so it's really safe that children know to stay within the boundary, but within the boundary they can interact with whatever's there. So we've got things that they can climb on, and they can climb on trees, obviously, but we've also got some tyres, haven't we, Chris, that have been all sorts of different imaginative things, pirate ships,
planes,
and trampolines and all sorts. We've got a mud kitchen, we've got rope swings and tree swings, but then we also try to teach different crafts or skills as well. So we might have a knot tying focus sometimes, or we might make something. We try and connect the crafts to the seasons. So we did some tool work with conkers, didn't we, recently, because it was the end of September. So there's always an element of something they can take away with them as well, because I think for some children that's quite important to them, to have some sort of little memento to hook their memory to. And then we also always have a campfire circle, and we always provide a snack, don't we, and warm drinks for the adults as well, and children sometimes, depending on the weather. And then with the older children, we go a little bit deeper. So we really teach them to all the different elements of building a fire. So the science of it. We also do talk about the psychology of it. Again, going back to that, it's quite an ancient thing, isn't it, to sit round a fire. And because we talked about it being holistic, spiritual development comes into it then as well. And with tools, we'll teach them again over time to use different tools and to develop those skills, different types of whittling or drilling or sawing.
Out of those activities, is there anything that you were surprised about when you were developing your forest school skills yourself, that you didn't realise that you would enjoy as much as you do?
For me, woodwork. I think my dad's always done a little bit of woodwork at home and I've seen it. And so I've had the opportunity to do it and I never ever did. I was interested in it. I was looking forward to doing it. I think I was a bit scared of the tools. I never really would have picked up an axe before I did my forest school training, but it's so primal. I absolutely love it. And it's something that I'll go to now when I need to just go into that flow state and do something meditative. And that's why I love sharing it with people as well.
Yeah, for me, it'd be probably the firework, either campfire cooking or even just getting the fires going, different types of fires. It's funny, as a young lad and teenager and a child, you're always told, don't start fires, or which you shouldn't unless you've got the correct training. But having the training allowed me that space to learn about different fires and the different uses of them and to try different recipes over the fire. I must profess, my wife's looking, I'm not much of a home cook, but it's outside in the great outdoors. I love campfire cooking. And like you said, Ellie, and then sharing it with others. That's the whole point of it, isn't it? To give. So like sharing that skill with others and seeing children light their own fire for the first time. It is primal. There's something fantastic about it. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a bonfire night celebration at Granny's, and I think it's probably the second time my daughter's been around a fire. She attends forest school at her primary school, but at the moment I think it's once a week that they're doing that, which is great. And her previous primary school teacher has left primary education to become a forest school leader. So I think I think there's a lot of enjoyment, isn't there, in terms of having that kind of style of connection and teaching with children. So I can see why there are lots of primary school teachers out there that are maybe changing career slightly in terms of their track and stuff. So what benefits does forest school bring to the children that you work with at your forest school, do you think?
One of the benefits that really stands out to me is that we very often will have parents come for the first time and they'll say to us at the start of the session, just to let you know, she doesn't get on very well at school, or his focus isn't very good. And it's like they feel anxious about their child's, either their behaviour or their needs. And we find that those are the children that just thrive in their confidence, in their risk taking, like Chris said earlier. I think the ability to assess risk for themselves is a huge one. We live in a really risk-averse society now, and lots of the natural dangers have been removed because of the way that we live in built-up areas and all of that. And I think actually children have got a really good natural risk assessment system within them, but we've lost that a little bit as a society. The opportunity for children to assess risks for themselves and to see where they then take that.
I agree, Ellie. Yeah, completely.
A real privilege for us to see.
Yeah, I think that touches upon another podcast we did recently with childhood expert Dr. Catherine Peckham. She had this great quote. She said, if we don't let our little kids make little risks, they'll grow up to be big kids who make big risks. It touches upon what you were saying, Ellie. I think we've got to allow them that time and space to do it in a safe space so they can do that independently. And then what else? We could talk for hours about the benefits and what they gain from it. Another thing I think as well is nature connection. And I think, like you touched upon that, Rachel, that is something that perhaps is being not lost, but in certain aspects, certain adults, I don't have that connection with nature. And to see the next generation of Attenboroughs or the next generation of teachers and whatever they choose to be in their careers, to see them have that nature connection and to be in touch with the natural world, I think that bodes really well for the future, because it's easy to doom scroll on Twitter and to see all the damning scientific facts. But if we can pass that torch, so to speak, to the next generation, then who knows, they might come up with a solution, because we've sure made a right mess of it, haven't we?
That just really made me think about, we did summer camp this year in a pretty large forest, didn't we, Chris, with some 7 to 13-year-olds, and there were some tiny little frogs. It was swampy, the area, part of the area that we were using, There were some tiny little frogs, and it was just really fascinating to see how the children interacted with these frogs differently, and to see how some of them were a little bit fearful of touching them, but that actually, through watching their peers, we did have discussions about whether or not it was okay to pick them up, and that in itself is valuable, I think, to have those discussions. But they were picking them up, and then sadly there was an incident. It was all dealt with, the child and the parents, and they understood. The reason I brought it up is because of the other children's reaction. They were protective of these frogs, and the way that they responded when they saw one being hurt, I felt like it was really sad that it happened. I actually had a lump in my throat, but I also think that frog didn't die in vain, because there was a real moment of like learning and nature connection there for some of those children that they perhaps hadn't experienced before.
Yeah, and I guess that group of kids, including the one that obviously did what they did, will go on to not do those things in future, and that sense of responsibility starts to build, isn't it, towards the impact that we can have on the natural world. That's why I set up Buttercup, because I could see this disconnect between, I live in the countryside and my daughter was spending so much time in front of a screen, and I would say, oh, let's play outside, and she'd be like, oh, I don't want to, I'm happy here. And we moved here for you to enjoy the countryside. Come on, let's get outside. And it was really frustrating that it's such a young age she was just not obsessed, but there was that kind of addictive quality. And I'm not anti-tech, because we use technology, but we use it in such a way that hopefully inspires children to then do the actions that we're suggesting outside. Let's take this back outside and do the stuff that will support the local British wildlife. But I do think that as parents, because we live such busy lives, don't we, that sometimes we come home from work and we could encourage our kids to spend a bit of time outside. So my daughter started playing out in the dark in the back garden, and it's just lovely hearing her voice talking to herself. She's been making her own den out of bits of wood that we have lying around, and we've given her a little hammer and some string and all sorts of stuff so she can have a little play with that. When it's given to her but not organised, she will actually do it. But if there's a sense that mummy or daddy is telling her what to do, then there's this resistance. When I was growing up, played out all the time. I'd be out from 9 o'clock till 5, especially during the summer holidays. And there was this kind of sense that as long as you were with your local school friends or neighbours' kids, that was fine. And okay, yes, things have changed. We're more built up. There's more traffic on the roads. We're more aware of potential dangers of children being alone, possibly. But it is a shame that we've come to this point now where lots of people have back gardens and their kids are spending more time inside than they are outside. We should really be trying to use what we've got available to us. So I think for me, it was that sort of sense of guilt of we've got this amazing space that other people maybe don't have access to. And my daughter was choosing the screen and TV and other things over that.
I think we can't underestimate the pull of technology and screens, and they're designed to be that way, aren't they? My own son's 10 and he's a gamer. I've borrowed his headphones for this podcast. He's really into it. But what I find with him is that the more time we spend outside, the more time he wants to spend outside. So when we do summer clubs, or any club that's suitable for his age, I always bring him along, sometimes through necessity and sometimes just because I'd rather he was outside. And I find that after those sessions, he's much more willing and inspired to go and be outside himself. And I think that's where some of the things like the tools that appeal to certain types of kids come in, that we hook them with the thing that looks big and exciting and dangerous. But actually, once they're there, they can find the joy in the quieter elements of forest school as well.
What's been your best moment so far from teaching at forest school?
Oh, that's a tricky one. How do you choose? It's like choosing your favourite moments. But I guess just generically would be those moments where kids have done something for the first time and you've seen that spark in them, and then knowing that they've then carried it on elsewhere. They'll come back through different seasons and say, oh, I carried on that wooden spoon that we were whittling, and oh, and look what I did with it. So that's always nice for me as a teacher at heart, to see children enjoying the learning and then applying it. It's just fantastic. Yeah.
I couldn't pick a favourite moment. I think there's so many to it, and I just love seeing families and children enjoy being outside and keep coming back. But one moment that really sticks in my head, I was teaching forest school as part of my job as a teacher, and the children used to love to play hide and seek. And I had a boy in my class at the time who was an elective mute, and he didn't speak to anybody. So he would speak at home to his parents, but he didn't speak to his peers, and he didn't speak to any adult in school. And he would communicate on a very practical level. So he was in year 2, he was a proficient writer, so he would sometimes write very practical things for me on a whiteboard if I asked him a question, but I was struggling to get a sense of who he really was. He used to smile and run, and he really loved forest school. I could see that he would enjoy it. And after one session, he came and he'd draw me a picture. After we'd gone back inside, he'd draw me a picture of himself hiding in a bush, and he put, I like the small, what was it, small, dark, quiet. And it really moved me because it was the first sort of communication from his heart, as opposed to, I need the toilet. And I think I'm really interested in the impacts of being outdoors on children like that, children that perhaps struggle in the classroom or have difficulties with communication. I just feel like forest school can be a place that can unlock something.
Yeah, I think there's so many positives, aren't there, from well-being to learning new skills to building confidence, getting fresh air for even the most simple thing,
Yeah.
and understanding relationships with other children as well. It does seem to me that it would be great, I think, if there was more money being spent on that in primary schools. I think I'm very fortunate that the school that my daughter goes to are part of eco schools, and they have a specialist forest school leader that works with the kids. But yeah, I'm curious, you've talked a lot about obviously forest school and Little Sprouts. Have you got any suggestions for maybe any activities or nature crafts that you'd recommend for families to do at home, either in their garden or local park or somewhere else outside?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know, I've just recently became a father myself. So my she's 18 months now, and I've got another baby due in February, which is probably when you'll be listening to this, possibly. So for the first time really, I didn't have my teacher hat on or my forest school practitioner hat on. I had my parent hat, my dad hat, and I heard something beautiful. Again, it was from a childhood expert, Dr. Catherine Peckham, and she was describing how if you're playing at home and you're indoors and you're setting up the bricks and it's all contrived, you're in control and you're the one that's in control of that situation. But if you were to go outside with your child into the outdoors, you enter that space as equals, and you're both seeing things for the first time. You're both learning things at the same time. No one's in control of that situation. So I'd say just getting outdoors and having a mindful walk with your children, it's definitely something there. What Ellie was saying, it can unlock a new layer or level to your relationship with your child. And there's definitely something about being outdoors and the positions you take up. I'm going off on a slight tangent, but there's research out there about when you're walking outdoors with somebody, you're side by side, you're not face to face. And to do with eye contact and body language, you're actually a lot more willing to discuss certain topics and you're a lot more open. And there's also research about groups being in a circular shape, such as around a fire pit. And I think Ellie said it's almost instinctual in us, isn't it? We've been doing it as a species for generations. So getting outdoors is a great opportunity to have those walks and discussions, either side by side or if you're in a group, in a circle. It just sets up the right opportunities and the right sort of energy for those moments. It facilitates those lovely moments.
Don't feel pressured to do a particular lovely craft or activity with an outcome, but actually consciously observe how your child is when they're outside, and if you can, bring yourself to do it. Do what they do, copy them, or engage in their play, because actually it can be a really freeing experience. Children are so instinctive, and so I think just being together outdoors. One thing that's really simple to do, but can be really nice focus, you can create a journey stick, which they exist in lots of cultures. I think I first came across it from Aboriginal culture, but that people would create almost like a visual map or a memory of a journey onto a stick. So you can just take a piece of string about the length of your arm and a stick, a manageable size stick, tie the string to one end, and then as you're walking and traveling through the natural space, collecting things that resonate with you or that mean something to you from that journey that you might remember the journey by. So it might be that if you're walking past a holly bush and there's berries on it, as there are at this time of year, that you collect some of that and then you tie it to your stick. And then when you get home, you've got this visual representation.
My daughter's got about 20 sticks that she's collected, and we always find at least one of them in the bedroom being used for some inventive reason, whether it's creating an umbrella one week, I'm trying to remember, a snake another week, and all sorts of things. So she absolutely loves crafting stuff that is imaginative.
Do you know the book Stanley's?
I don't think we've read it, actually.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
I've got a copy
Go get
right
it,
behind
Al.
me. I can tell you who it's by, but it's a good stocking filler for a kid who loves sticks. Hang on.
But that's testament to the use of going outdoors. It's accessible and cheap on the whole. And a stick can be a million different things. Could be a wand, could be an umbrella, could be a fishing rod. Whereas a plastic toy can only be that plastic toy. This really, you can use your imagination. This could only ever be a pig, really, to a 2-year-old. But a stick could be a million different things, and it's that open-ended creative play. That's why the outdoors is so much more beneficial, I think, than the indoors.
This book, Stanley's Stick, is fantastic, and it's exactly that Chris was just talking about, the different things that a stick can be to a child. So yeah, if your kid's into sticks, I recommend.
Have you got any other favourite books or resources that you want to share?
There's 2 books that I really love that I'd recommend for people who work with children or as parents. And one is The Joy Journal by Laura Brand. I don't know if you've come across it, but it's lovely, gentle, nature-inspired crafts and activities that also look beautiful and very Instagrammable, might I add, that you can do with your children. And she's actually recently brought out a version for grown-ups as well. And then I Love My World by Chris Holland, who's a storyteller, which is more aimed at practitioners really and people who work with kids outdoors. But there's loads of fantastic ideas, really cross-curricular ideas in there, forest school activities. So that's one that I go to all the time when I'm planning sessions if I need a bit of inspiration. And then on our website, we do occasionally share activities that have been well received within our sessions or ideas that people can do for free at home. Yeah, so if you haven't checked out our website, it is littlesproutsforestschool.co.uk. And if you go to the blog section there's some posts. I think the most recent one was a recipe for Play-Doh, because we'd made some pumpkin spice Play-Doh. And whenever I used to look for Play-Doh recipes when my boy was little, they always make huge quantities. So over time of making lots of Play-Doh, we've honed a recipe for a small quantity.
And it was not that I'd advise it, but it was edible, which hints, not that you should...
Non-toxic, I wouldn't say edible.
It was all natural materials, wasn't it? It wasn't like toxic materials.
Yeah, we had babies.
And it smelled like a chai latte. It was gorgeous. Yeah, so if you, check it out.
Yeah, no, it sounds delicious. The smell, I can imagine it already.
We try and make everything really multi-sensory to make it inclusive and also to just encourage that connection. Not part of nature connection is connecting with ourselves, isn't it? And our senses, ourselves as beings of nature.
Absolutely. One of the things that I love doing as a family is going on like a senses walk. So we'll listen and smell and stop and sniff things, sometimes not so good things that you want to sniff, and it's what can I hear, what can I see, what can I smell, what might I be able to see around the corner just by listening as well. And that's been a lot of fun because then we have conversations about understanding bird song and sounds and the quieter sounds as well when you really listen, like the little rustles of the grass where something's going through long grass or something like that. It just makes those walks when my daughter is in a mood and not really feeling the let's go out for a walk moment. It gets her outdoors and it gets her excited about it. Oh, Mummy always wants to go for a walk.
Do you know, it's funny.
Oh,
You
I love
never,
that.
you
That's
never
fab.
regret a walk afterwards, do you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's that first sometimes encouragement of the reluctant child, isn't it? Getting them out sometimes. But I also find that a little bit of hot chocolate bribery goes down well as well. So what's next for Little Sprouts?
So lots. Since we started the business to now, both of our situations have changed, that neither of us are working full time currently anymore in other jobs. So we are really focusing a bit more on the business now, aren't we, Chris? So we have our own podcast, which should be out early 2023, with some fantastic guests. I think Chris has already mentioned Catherine Peckham, and just before we came on to talk to you, actually, we were talking to Danny English from We Be Kids, which is another resource actually that I would definitely signpost parents who are interested in nature to, because it's completely free resources, all designed to help people connect with nature and improve their well-being, and it's really excellent resources. So Danny's a storyteller. We're honing our own storytelling skills,
Absolutely,
aren't we, Chris?
always.
I think we're really conscious of developing our offering of free resources, because both of us really, we found each other in a business sense because we have shared values about outdoors being accessible for everybody, and that it should be inclusive. And so obviously we're a business and we do charge for our sessions, but we're also working on what we can offer back to people for free that can enhance their relationships with outdoors and their lives. But we'll also be offering more sessions because we've got more time. We're looking at holiday clubs. We're currently applying for funding as well, so that we can provide holiday clubs for children that perhaps couldn't otherwise afford to come.
Sounds excellent. Whereabouts are you based? Because I've realised we've not covered that. So where, if people are in your local area, where are you and how can they get in touch?
If you are interested in forest school provision or any needs, we are mobile. Predominantly, we have one main site. It's based in Swinfen near Lichfield in Staffordshire, and it's called Heart of the Country. So it's Heart of the Country shopping village, and within there, there's a woodland that we use. We also, as I said, we're mobile, so we've done holiday courses at Birches Valley in Cannock Chase, and again, that's Staffordshire. And Ellie and I, we have grand plans for the future. So we're probably anywhere around the Midlands, really. We want to branch out and do different sessions.
Branch out, that's a forest school related joke for you there. Hey.
It's been brilliant having the two of you on today, Ellie and Chris. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with your resources next on your website, which, if anybody needs a reminder, is littlesproutsforestschool.co.uk. And you can also find Little Sprouts on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter. Do give Ellie and Chris a follow, and look forward to seeing what happens next with Little Sprouts. Thanks again.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. It's been
Thanks
a real
for your time,
pleasure
Rachel.
talking to you. And I'll be keeping a keen eye on
Yeah,
your
I want to know
resources
more. Yeah,
as
that
well.
sounds exciting.
Love what you do.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Curious About Nature. If you would like to keep getting nature and outdoor learning stories and tips, hit subscribe on the podcast so you never miss an episode. Don't forget to give a 5-star rating and review to support our podcast reach. To deepen your child's connection with nature and natural world education, please check out the Nature Curious subscription box. Head over to the website buttercuplearning.com to further support your family's nature journey.